fans, this is Doobie Masters returning to my Let's Play of Phoenix Wright. It's the defendant's lobby of Wright. There's no defendant. I'm trying to reach Lana all morning. Where should be? Where's Emma, for that matter? It almost seems as if something's been happening behind the scene. Edgeworth, knowing you, you've already figured it out. Who the owner of the 7777 ID number is today. I have a pretty strong hunch. Looks like I'm not the only one who figured it out. Well, the only reason this trial didn't reach a verdict yesterday, because there was still room for doubt regarding this ID. That number does belong to whom you suspect, then no doubt will remain. After all, he hasn't been officially charged with anything. True, not yet. When removed from that list, I can call for a ruling. 5 minutes, right? And Chief Prosecutor Sky will be found guilty. But she didn't do it. I figured you'd say as much. That's why I came here to hear what you have to say. It's the first time he's ever done something like this. Lana's hiding something, and the only way we'll ever know the truth is to draw it out of her. The truth. Everything goes back to the SL9. Don't be stupid. Today's the last day of the trial. We don't have time to reminisce about the past. That depends on you. If she's found guilty, you lose your only chance to find out what really happened. I'll think about it. See you in court, right? This is it. I'm going to find out what Chief Brand has on her. It's now. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. Normally, this is where the prosecution puts forth its opening statement. But before that, the police chief has a proposal to make. Chief again. Morning, folks. How's everybody doing? Who and Udgy's been back in the pool yet? No, I've been drowning enough as it is in my work. Oh, that's a good one. Didn't think I can top that. If you don't mind me asking, Chief, exactly what is this proposal of yours? Lana, that is to say the defendant, has asked me if I could speak directly to the court. He wants to do what? He intends to say I feel she should be granted a request. In the end, it should save everyone a lot of time and trouble. It's all about defendant. I'd just like to make one simple request and I'll be finished. Well then, what's your request? Your Honor, I'd like to put an immediate end to this trial. Huh? All charges against me. On February 21st of the year, I murdered Detective Bruce Goodman in the underground parking lot of the prosecutor's office. No, Lana! Objection! You can't. Your Honor, the defendant claims she does not change the defense's plea. In that case, Mr. Wright, I no longer require your service. But, Lana. Your Honor, I hereby forfeit my right to an attorney. She may lack direct evidence against me, but has sufficiently proven its case through testimony and circumstantial evidence. I would like you to render your verdict now, if you please. Well, the defendant certainly has the right to self-position. Her request is legally valid, although this is an unprecedented situation. Indeed, it appears there's no further need to continue this trial, even if Mr. Wright may feel otherwise. This can't be happening. It appears the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant... Objection! One moment, Your Honor. Mr. Edgeworth, the prosecution has not yet proven the defendant guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Any ruling this stage would certainly be premature. Come now, worthy. I understand this is a difficult time for you, but why do you just be a good little boy and keep your mouth shut, I don't think I care for your tone, Chief Dan. What? Creating another fabrication to cover up your past mistakes? Sorry, I'm no longer the naive little boy you would have me be. With this subtle confession from the defendant, it's obvious to me some kind of deal was struck behind the scenes. Some kind of deal, Not everyone operates as you do, Worthy. I thought so. Now that the prosecution would like to change its first witness. Oh? To whom? Its first witness, the prosecution would like to call Miss Emma Sky. I request the court hear her testimony. Mr. Edgeworth, I am exercising my right to self-representation. I don't think we need to. I don't care what you think, Miss Sky. The exposure of the truth sometimes results in tragedy. However, no matter how tragic the truth may be, it would be an even greater tragedy to avert one's eyes from it. Very well, the court shall grant the prosecution's request. Worthy, you'll live to regret this, so mark my words. Miss Emma Sky, please take the stand. Looks like Edgeworth has decided to take the horse by the reins. Now then, witness, please state your name and occupation. My name is Emma Sky. My occupation, I'm Lana's little sister and wanted to be a scientific investigator. 2 years ago, you encountered the serial killer Joe Drake at the Joe Drake killing. Is this correct? Yes. I'm trying my hardest to forget about that, though. I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to recall those events one more time. Mr. Edgeworth, please remember this trial concerns the murder of Detective Goodman. It's an incident that was resolved 2 years ago, really. All that, yes, it certainly is. Well, okay. Sure. Now, please testify about what happened 2 years ago. The tip to yesteryear has finally begun. It's bound to lead to the truth beyond this trial. I was waiting in my sister's office that day. A man came running in and took me hostage. Neil Marshall rescued me. If I never forget what I saw in that instant. The man raised his knife and stabbed Mr. Marshall in the chest. It's a good thing you weren't harmed. Oh, I don't remember. What does this testimony have to do with Detective Goodman's murder? That will soon become apparent, Your Honor. Well, the defense may begin its cross-examination. Two years ago, the defendant was a detective at the police department, correct? Yes. She was second in command under the deputy chief of police. My sister, she was the best yes, I remember. Deputy Chief Grant and Miss Sky used to be quite the pair. I believe they shared the same office. That's right. Sit at my sister's desk. I dream about playing that organ. I wanted to play it that day too. department, the prosecution's already held a ceremony there. Promised to take me to dinner after she finished work. And then took me hostage. A man. Yes, Joe Drake. He was a serial killer. He was brought in for questioning on the day of the ceremony. Desperate to get anything on him that would lead him to an arrest. And when he saw his chance, he fled the room, Wright. Upon fleeing the room, Drake proceeded to take the elevator. Then he ran into Sky and Grant's office. There was a lot of noise coming from outside, so I opened up the door to have a look. That's when I saw him. Yes, you. What was the prosecutor doing there? That day, there were two people present during the Drake questioning. Deputy Chief Drake Damon and Prosecutor Neil Marshall. What about him? Neil Marshall had received the King of Prosecutors Award. The only decisive he went straight to the questioning room after the ceremony. Assumed that would also be why he was the first to run after Drake. Drake grabbed me, thought I was as good as dead. And that's when Prosecutor Marshall came running in. I don't clearly remember what happened then, but what I saw in that incident. Can you tell us about it? Marshall jumped on Drake just then. The lights went out. The lights? It was just about the time of year. There was a terrible storm going on and the lightning struck nearby. So you went out? Wait a minute. If it was pitch dark in the room, you shouldn't have been able to see anything, right? Right, just then the lightning flashed outside. That sudden flash left an unforgettable image of the scene in my mind. I told the detective about what I saw. Detective Goodman, he was in charge of the case. Detective Bruce Goodman, the victim. So you spoke with Detective Goodman about this 2 years ago? Yes. It was so scary about this trial. And you told Detective Goodman what you saw. Yes, but all the time the words just wouldn't come out. That's why I drew a picture. A picture? I think she mentioned that before. That's right. This picture, the witness drew. I believe it's a very important meeting. That the evidence was given 2 years ago didn't contain it. Would you mind if you... Yeah. Mr. Edgeworth. This little girl put all her heart into drawing that picture. And yet you would insist on denying its existence? Huh? Hey, I'm not the bad guy. All I'm saying is the prosecutor for the case, wasn't handed such a picture. That may be. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Behold, this is the evidence list for the SL9. Please turn it over, Your Honor. Oh, what's this? That. Hey, that's it. That's a picture I drew. The two men seem to be wrestling. What's the meaning of this? What are you doing with that list? Me? Only the prosecutor in charge should have access to that. These lists, they're different from each other. What? It appeared, Mr. Edgeworth, that the evidence list you were handed 2 years ago was incomplete. These two lists fit together to form one. You see the marks here that were torn apart from each other. You see, Mr. Edgeworth, it's quite obvious what happened. 2 years ago, only half the evidence in that case ever reached you. What? What? Order, but Miss Sky, why did you draw your picture on the back of such an important list? Because that's what Detective Goodman handed me in the questioning room you're on. Wait a minute. This was torn in half. That means... Your Honor, your eyes are bulging from your head. The evidence list was torn in half, and there might be more of the drawing on the back of Mr. Edgeworth's list. Yes, that's quite conceivable, Mr. It's possible. Let's see. Is something wrong? Did you even have to ask? Sorry, Your Honor. There indeed seemed to be drawn on the back of my list. That. That thing. That thing that was dancing in the evidence room. Clearly this is an act of vandalism. It's the work of a certain chief of it. Guess he was just out of scrap paper. Witness, please testify about the... Huh? Oh, yes sir, Your Honor. What's wrong with Emma? She seems to be thinking about something when she was looking at the picture. The flash of lightning was so bright, all I could see were shadows. Oh. After that, I must have fainted. This picture shows exactly when I saw it in that instant. To think a flash of lightning could burn such an image in your mind. Thanks to that, though, she was able to show us exactly what she saw. Well, I don't see any contradictions here. This clearly shows Joe Drake about the murder prosecutor Neil Marshall. Hence may now begin its cross-examination. You draw this picture right after the incident. I think I drew it 2 or 3 days ago. At first, I was in such a state of shock I couldn't do anything. During that time, the investigation team was reorganized. Detective Goodman was placed in charge, under the direction of Damon Grandin on the staff. 2 or 3 days later, it should still have been fresh in your mind. Excuse me, witness. But can you please tell us why this picture is painted all black? And it was so bright, all I could see were shadows. So the time you didn't even know was Mr. Marshall who had come to your rescue? No, it didn't seem clear. The light was so bright that I was knocked on the floor. You knocked on the floor? Drake had a tight grip on me, but when Mr. Marshall jumped on him, I was knocked away, turned away. That's when the lightning flashed. Just glad she wasn't hurt. What happened after the lightning flash? Fainted. You mean you didn't see the actual murder take place? No, I'm sorry. The flash of light only drove off the darkness for a split second. Not only that, but the trauma of the situation understandably caused the witness to faint. Do you really need to torture this girl any further? Hey, I'm not the bad guy here. Anyway, this picture... It's strange. She claims this is exactly the scene that was incriminated to me. Yet, there's clearly a contradiction here. Should I treat? I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this picture, the witness drew, contains a blank contradiction. I still remember it just like it was yesterday. You're right. Perhaps it would be faster if you simply point out the contradiction. Solution, of course, lies here. Take a look at the knife the man just sold. You see the tip is broken. Even I don't have to look closely to see that. Look at the evidence. See the murder weapon? The tip is broken too. I recall. It was found in the broken conclusive piece of evidence that proved Joe the murder. I'm afraid that's not so simple. Hey, see, it's obvious, really. The victim suffered a single stab wound to the back. Hickman was only stabbed once, and the murder weapon should not be broken. What's the meaning of it? Perhaps the knife was broken before. So I'm afraid that's not. The tip of the knife was found inside the victim's body. If it was broken beforehand, it could possibly wind up there. That's right. What does that mean? The tip of the knife was undeniably discovered within the victim's body. The only possible explanation is the witness memory is mistaken. That's why I asked her so many times if she was sure of the memory correctly. I believe you were annoyed at that time, but she was sure that she remembered completely. But there's no way to explain the inconsistency. Not so fast, Mr. Edward. There is another. Gotten already? That will is something called falsified evidence. You treading on thin ice, right? Is that this broken knife tip might have been the piece of evidence that was forged. You can't deny the possibility. Order! Order! Are you saying the investigation was corrupted, Your Honor? Please allow me once again to go over the events that took place the day of the murder. The police department and the prosecutor's office were holding a ceremony that day. And the king of prosecutors award at the ceremony, Neil Marshall questions Joe Drake along with Damon Grant. During his questioning, Joe Drake led the room. Prosecutor Marshall chased after him and was killed by Drake. It's my belief that somewhere in this story there is a lie. I'm not lying. The man was holding a broken knife. If that's true, then there's no other way around it. This couldn't have been the actual murder weapon. Be another broken knife. Who? Under the accuracy, he explained by his simple observational error. In that instant, really did see a broken knife. Now you have some information. Completely. Sorry. Here's the real murder. The answer lies in the past. 2 years ago, right here inside this picture. This is the picture of the awards ceremony. This is it, Mr. Edgeworth. The broken murder weapon. Notice the award Prosecutor Marshall is holding. That's it, a broken knife. As we earlier the knife in the drawing was not joke. That being the case, the knife the witness saw was all likelihood from this. Order! Order! Neil Marshall was awarded King of Prosecutor that day. As an award, he was given this broken shield and knife. When he chased after Joe Dark, he pulled out his knife. Being a prosecutor, he did not carry a pistol. The broken knife was the only weapon he had in the dangerous situation. That can't be. Oh, and why not, Mr. Edgar? Because if the King of Prosecutor Award knife was the murder weapon, then the murderer and the victim would be reversed. What do you mean? Raising the knife would be the prosecutor Neil Marshall. Oh. Oh! But the prosecutor was the one who actually died. That's true. What's going on here? It seemed Mr. Wright has been a bit too eager to jump to conclude. Hold on. Wait, I remember now. I remember everything. Witness, Mr. Edgeworth. What is it? Could you show me your evidence list again, please? This one with... I knew it. This picture. I'm the one who drew it. What? You drew that? That's right. The list wasn't torn in half at the time I drew this picture. At the time I've been trying so hard to forget. I must have locked this part away deep in... Perhaps it would be best if we add this to the witness system. Tell us what you recall. Yes, Your Honor. First the knife mix-up, now the blue badger? This should be interesting. When I saw that man raise his knife, I panicked and rushed towards both of them. And I think I knocked away the man with the knife. Just then there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger. He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow. Certainly most of them. Try impossible. Hasn't even designed him until this year. That would mean he didn't even exist. Please, don't pursue this any further. Why? It's meaningless. Please remain seated in the defense. You can't do this. I've already confessed to the crime. Why can't you just leave it at that? I've already come this far. It's too late to turn back. Bailiff, please detain the defendant. Finally getting to the core of the matter. The knife. It's all that, man. I assume you referred to Joe Dark. Yes, at least I think it was him. You think? All I could see were shadows. Power outage at the media since the incident. Also documented in the prosecutor's office report, so then you. I panicked and rushed towards both of them. Why would you do something so dangerous? I have done. He's about to stab Mr. Marshall. She seems convinced that Drake was the one holding the knife. Or so we just theorized. Mr. Marshall was the one holding the knife. Well, I don't know that at the time. The dark guy knocked me down. All I could think was, I gotta help the other person. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. What do you mean, you think? It's all happened so fast, and it was all in shock. I didn't remember everything clearly. What I did was kind of a blur. So I was almost killed. She was in witness to a murder. Time. With so much happening in a matter of seconds, a little disorientation is only natural. The man was about to stab the other person, but I thought it was Mr. Marshall. I knew I had to stop the man with the knife. What you did was very brave, young girl. So then what happened next? And that's when I saw the blue badge. Are you sure about this? Of course, see? I drew a picture of it. It was the chief of detectives who thought up of that heinous feat. And it was just this year. The blue badger didn't exist 2 years ago. That's quite... I know it sounds strange. Surprised too when I saw him at the police department. I had this nagging feeling that I'd seen him before somewhere. I finally remembered. Oh brother, just when you thought... Where in the room did you see him dance? Shadow? So you mean you didn't actually see his face with its winning smile and all? That's right, but I still remember it. He had 3 creepy horns. His point was that thing couldn't have possibly existed 2 years ago. That may be. But what's important here caused her to think she saw what she did. Oh, and suppose you have evidence. By all means, tell us what this shadow really was. Ladies and gentlemen, the defendant's belief on that fateful day 2 years ago, there indeed was something that looked similar to the blue bat. Something that is now sitting in this very room. Mr. Wright? Very well. The mysterious blue badger was in fact this. But that... what exactly is that? I believe it's some sort of jar? But Mr. Wright, that doesn't look anything like the blue badger. Indeed it doesn't. As it stands out, it's just a plain jar. However, what if we were to change our viewpoint? No one can possibly deny this jar resembled to the blue badger. No. Can't be! Order! The defense has proven its claim. Here's weakness on the dick was actually this. Mr. Wright's dramatic performance, one question remains. What's your point? What do you mean? So that badger thing was actually just a jar. That doesn't actually change it. I'm afraid that's where you're wrong, Mr. Edgeworth. See, this changes everything. Indeed, very well then. Tell me. Take these two. Witness saw. I'd add. Where could she have seen this jar? Where? Location of jar shown in this picture taken on the day from front. It's on the shelf of Officer Damon's room. The body was found lying near Lana's testified so herself. And it was these two facts that reveal what actually transpired. You see, the struggle between Drake and Marshall did not take place in Lana's skyscraper. It happened on the other side of the room, with Chief Grant's office. Are you implying the murder moved the victim's body from Damon Grant's office to Lana Sky's office? Yeah. Why would he do that? There's no reason. Exactly. If there wasn't a reason, he wouldn't have gone through the trouble. The only logical conclusion is that there was a reason. Do you know what that reason was, Mr. Wright? Finally figured out. So this is why Lana's trying to stop the trial. It's too late to quit now, though. Please recall the witness's testimony. She said she knocked away the man who was holding up the knife. The next instant, the jar was hit and flew through. Now tell me, what could have sent the jar flying? That would have been the impact the man made when he was knocked into the wall. Ladies and gentlemen, if I may draw your attention to this picture one more. Was knocked into the direction of the shelf the jar was sitting on. What would he have hit? Ah, the suit of armor, holding a very sharp and dangerous looking sword. Yes. And since the man who was knocked into the armor was carrying a broken knife, he would have been Neil Marshall wielding the King of Prosecutors trophy. Mr. Wright, you can't be thinking. Yes. There is another possibility of what actually transpired in that run. Another possibility? They would have no idea. Nevertheless, I don't know if I can go through with this, Mr. Wright. What's the matter? Place as the defense theorized, then the outcome is obvious. In that moment, assuming the man Emma Sky knocked away was actually Prosecutor Neil Marshall. You mean Mr. Marshall died because of me? No! I never imagined her testimony would lead to this. So it was the witness who took the victim's life, and then provided so with her own testimony. This is unprecedented. What are you saying? I'm sorry, Miss Sky, but given the circumstance, Joe Drake murdered Prosecutor Marshall. How could you think it was Emma? How dare you try to pin the... Coming from you. If you recall, it was you who admitted to forging evidence 2 years ago. The reason you moved Prosecutor Marshall's body was to keep anyone else from finding out about what Emma did, wasn't it? I assure you, Mr. Edgeworth, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you hope to have anyone believe you're insane, Agulate, I'm afraid you're going to have proof. Tell me, do you have any conclusive evidence that proves my sister killed Neil Marshall? Evidence? I'm willing to bet you don't. Yes, it certainly would be difficult to prove this with evidence. If you don't have evidence, you'll have to rely on testimony. I'm afraid that won't work in this case. Both parties involved in the incident are dead. I certainly can't get dead people to testify. This has been a wild goose chase from the beginning. Touche, Miss Scott. Of course, that only leaves us with one possibility. You mean there's still another? I mean the possibility that the victim had left us a message. For better or worse, Mr. Marshall did not die instantly. He may have left behind a name of the person who took his life, and that in one manner. That's impossible. Cease. Message, Mr. Wright, will you stop at nothing to prove my sister a murderer? Do not be mistaken, Miss Sky. Our purpose is not to accuse Emma of crime. There's only one thing we seek, the truth. No matter how painful it may be. Now then. Why this? Hydra from before. Oh, is he just going to speak the killer's name? I'm sure it would. Thing is just a jar. Message was left here on the surface of the jar. Look closely. You can see a faint trail of blood. Wipe the blood away. But notice, for some reason, the blood on the fragment was not wiped. These are dots were once lines. Did not die instantly. Few precious moments left to find the one that someone apparently wiped away. But blood must have seeped into the jar where the lines changed direction. All we need to do is connect these, and the victim's message will appear. No. What kind of message did the victim leave us? I think we'll reveal the answer. Defense's opportunity to prove their client's innocence. That's why all I've been thinking about. Come on. After all my efforts, I never thought it would turn out like this. Emma. So this is the final message Prosecutor Marshall left behind. Of all people, she may have not meant it, but in the end, the one who took the victim's life was Emma Skye. Seaworthy, can't say I didn't warn you. Chief Gant, do you understand the implications of what you've done? What are you talking? 2 years ago, Joe Drake was sentenced to death. He was convicted because of his final murder. I believe you were the prosecutor in the case where you... Yes, Worthy. Because of you, an innocent man was sent to death. Not only that, but you used forged evidence to ensure his conviction. But Joe Drake really was a serial murderer. That's undeniable. I'm afraid that's not important. Didn't you know we aren't defenders of justice? We're merely keepers of the law. Sentencing a man to death is no light matter. Even if there wasn't any cover-up or evidence forgery, ultimately the responsibility falls on the prosecutor in charge. Despite what anyone may say, that fact cannot be denied. Order! The gavel pound fell on deaf's ear. Unable to settle the crowd, the judge declared a recess. Where this trial's headed, no one knows. Well, that's it for this video. Hope you like it and stay tuned.